Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an intriguing and a bit complicated topic. How to recognize when a married woman is showing interest in you. Now before we go any further, let's be clear. This video is not about encouraging anyone to pursue a married woman. Instead, it's about awareness. Understanding the signals can help you navigate social interactions wisely and, more importantly, avoid getting caught in a situation that could lead to regret. We'll discuss 7 unmistakable signs that a married woman may be crossing the line from casual friendship into something more. But with that awareness comes responsibility. Ethical considerations matter, and we'll also touch on why staying clear of these situations is often the best decision. So stick around until the end, because some of these signs might surprise you. Let's get into it. 1. She always responds quickly. When a married woman is drawn to a man outside her marriage, her actions often betray emotions she may not fully acknowledge. Attraction, especially when it conflicts with commitment, tends to manifest subtly at first, through small choices, fleeting moments, and quiet decisions that gradually form a pattern. One of the most evident signs of interest is how quickly she responds to his messages. Unlike casual acquaintances or platonic friendships, these interactions take on a different level of urgency. She finds ways to reply immediately, even when circumstances make it difficult, even when her husband is nearby. This isn't just about convenience, it is about priority. A woman who values discretion might not realize how obvious her behavior has become. She will instinctively make excuses to step away, often under the pretense of handling minor tasks, going to the bathroom, checking on something in another room, or briefly stepping outside. The response is not delayed, not left unread for long. The pull is too strong. While she might convince herself there is no harm in these exchanges, her actions tell a different story. If responding feels necessary, if the idea of leaving a message unanswered makes her anxious or uneasy, she is no longer treating this as a casual connection. She is investing in it. Yet this urgency comes with its risks. The secrecy required to sustain such interactions often becomes the very thing that leads to exposure. Many married women who engage in these hidden conversations eventually get caught, not because they make bold moves, but because the small, repeated acts of divided attention become too noticeable. A husband may begin to notice how often she seems preoccupied, how frequently she turns her phone face down, or how her energy shifts when a specific message arrives. Trust is rarely broken in a single moment. It erodes over time, piece by piece. A woman fully committed to her marriage would not feel the need to create these moments of secrecy. Suppose she consistently ensures her husband never sees particular messages, reacts to a specific person's texts with an eagerness that stands out, or finds ways to engage in conversations that require effort to hide. In that case, this is no longer just about harmless communication. Whether she admits it to herself or not, it is an emotional investment. And when a woman starts making time for someone in a way that requires concealment, she has already stepped beyond the boundary of simple curiosity. 2. She goes out of her way to spend time with you. When a married woman begins to rearrange her life to create time for a particular man, she makes a choice that often speaks louder than words. Time is one of the most valuable assets in any relationship, and for a woman who is balancing marriage, family, and personal commitments, the moments she sets aside are never accidental. If she consistently finds ways to see him, whether through seemingly casual encounters or deliberately planned meetups, she is not simply being friendly, she is prioritizing him in a way that gradually shifts the dynamic of her life. At first, the adjustments may seem minor. A slight change in her routine, a well-timed errand that coincidentally places her near him, or a suggestion to meet up under the guise of something innocent, perhaps a coffee break or a quick chat about work or shared interests. She may frame these moments as unplanned, as if they are the product of chance rather than intent. But as time goes on, the pattern becomes clear. She is not just going with the flow, but orchestrating opportunities. What stands out is not just the frequency of these interactions, but the level of effort she puts into them. If a woman truly values her marriage above all else, she would be cautious with her time, ensuring that her husband remains her primary focus. But she makes an unspoken declaration when she begins creating space for another man, finding reasons to see him, initiating conversations, or subtly adjusting her schedule to accommodate him. Even if nothing overt has happened between them, the emotional shift is already in motion. There is also an element of secrecy in these interactions. If she actively seeks moments alone with him, whether by suggesting private meetups or ensuring their encounters remain unnoticed, it is a sign that she is aware of the risk she is taking. A woman who sees these meetings as harmless would not feel the need to keep them discreet. But if she is navigating her interactions with caution, avoiding mentioning his name too often, downplaying their connection, or ensuring that her time spent with him does not attract unwanted attention, she knows on some level that the boundaries of her marriage are being tested. The deeper reality is that no woman continuously carves time for a man without reason. If she is willing to shift her schedule, make repeated efforts, and go out of her way to maintain a connection, something within her is pulling her in that direction. She may rationalize it, convincing herself that it is just a friendship or a harmless attraction, but emotions are rarely that simple. Her actions reveal where her priorities shift. Whether she acknowledges it or not, she has already begun making choices that redefine her commitments. 3. She aligns with your interests and complains about her husband. When a married woman develops a deep emotional connection with a man outside her marriage, it rarely happens in isolation. She does not simply engage in conversation. She aligns with him, mirrors his interests, and subtly shifts her emotional energy toward him. What begins as a casual rapport often deepens through shared understanding, humor, and a sense of emotional safety that she may feel is lacking in her marriage. One of the most telling signs of this shift is how she speaks about her husband. A faithful woman, even if she faces difficulties in her marriage, maintains a level of respect and boundaries. But when a woman is emotionally investing elsewhere, those boundaries blur. She begins to frame her husband as the cause of her unhappiness, painting herself as misunderstood, neglected, or emotionally unfulfilled. Her words are carefully chosen, not always with direct accusation, but with enough weight to invite sympathy. She may mention how distant they have become, how they no longer share intimacy, or how she feels like she is merely going through the motions of marriage. Each statement is a quiet invitation, an attempt to gain reassurance, understanding, and emotional validation from the man she confides in. This pattern serves a psychological purpose. By attributing her growing attachment to the failures of her marriage, she minimizes her guilt. If her husband is inattentive, emotionally absent, or no longer fulfilling her needs, then seeking comfort elsewhere feels less like a betrayal and more like a necessity. She is not justifying her actions outright, but laying the groundwork for an emotional escape. In this process, the man she shares her feelings with becomes more than just a listener. He becomes the alternative, the one who sees her, understands her, and provides the connection she feels is missing. A woman who constantly discusses the broken state of her marriage with another man is rarely doing so without intention. Whether consciously or not, she is creating an emotional bridge that slowly shifts the balance of where her affections lie. And once that shift begins, it becomes harder to ignore. 4. She compliments you excessively. When a married woman begins showering a man with compliments, her words are rarely casual remarks. Flattery, when used persistently, often reflects deeper emotions at play. She may frequently praise his intelligence, charm, or ability to listen, drawing attention to qualities lacking in her husband. What seems like innocent admiration soon takes on a more intentional tone that elevates him in her eyes and justifies her growing attraction. At first, the compliments may feel harmless. She admires his confidence, sense of humor, and how he understands her in ways her husband does not. But as time passes, her words begin to carry an unspoken comparison. "You always know the right thing to say," she might remark before adding, "My husband never really listens." Or perhaps she'll say, "You're so ambitious, I wish my husband had half your drive." These statements are more than just praise. They serve to rationalize her emotions. By subtly diminishing her husband while elevating the man she's drawn to, she creates a psychological divide where her growing attraction feels justified rather than forbidden. Flattery is not just about admiration, it's also a tool of influence. When a woman consistently praises a man, she lowers his guard, makes him more receptive to her presence, and fosters a sense of connection. People naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel valued. She understands this instinctively. Her compliments create a bond, making him feel seen, appreciated, and in some cases even responsible for fulfilling the emotional needs she claims to lack in her marriage. Yet patterns of behavior often repeat themselves. A woman who finds solace in seeking admiration outside her marriage is likelier to do so again, regardless of who she is with. If she is willing to cross emotional boundaries now, she is expected to do the same in the future. Attraction based on comparison and dissatisfaction is built on unstable ground. What begins as praise can quickly turn into expectation, and when those expectations are not met, the cycle may continue with someone new. A man who receives excessive praise from a married woman should be cautious. What appears to be admiration is an attempt to validate her emotions and decisions. Compliments can be genuine, but when they come with an undertone of discontent and unspoken longing, they often signal something more profound, something that may not be as innocent as it seems. 5. She opens up about her marriage problems. When a married woman begins to open up about the struggles in her marriage, she is doing more than simply sharing her thoughts. She is extending trust, offering a glimpse into the most private corners of her life, and, consciously or not, creating an emotional bridge between herself and the man she confides in. This is not a conversation she would have with just anyone. The willingness to discuss her loneliness, her feelings of neglect, or the disconnect she experiences with her husband indicates that she sees this person as more than a casual acquaintance. At first, it may seem innocent. She might mention minor frustrations, how she and her husband don't communicate as they used to, how she feels unheard, how their relationship has lost its spark. Over time, these confessions deepen. She speaks about emotional distance, unmet needs, or even a sense of entrapment. Each conversation peels back another layer of vulnerability, positioning the listener as someone who understands her in ways her husband no longer does. This kind of emotional disclosure is not accidental. When a woman begins to share her pain, she seeks relief from isolation, seeking someone to validate her feelings and offer the understanding she craves. And the more she opens up, the stronger the connection becomes. Emotional intimacy often precedes any other form of closeness, and once a woman allows a man into this space, the boundaries between friendship and something more start to blur. The real risk lies in what this dynamic represents. A woman fully committed to her marriage would turn to her spouse to resolve these issues, not seek solace in another man. If she consistently shares her deepest frustrations with someone outside her marriage instead of working on the relationship, it signals an emotional detachment from her husband. She may still be physically present in her marriage, but emotionally she is already stepping away. No woman shares intimate details about her marriage with a man she sees as just another friend. If she confides in him, makes him her emotional refuge and seeks his support instead of looking inward to fix what is broken, she has already crossed a line, whether she realizes it or not. 6. She initiates physical contact. When a married woman begins to initiate physical contact, she speaks a language that words cannot fully capture. Physical touch, even in its most subtle form, is one of the most telling attraction indicators. Unlike words, which can be easily rationalized or disguised under the veil of friendliness, touch carries an undeniable weight. A light brush of the hand, a playful nudge, and a lingering touch on the arm may seem innocent in isolation, but they reveal a deeper intention when they become a pattern. These small moments of contact are not random. A woman who is consciously or unconsciously drawn to a man outside of her marriage will find ways to bridge the physical gap between them. She may stand just a little closer than necessary, let her fingers rest on his arm during a conversation, or use a moment of laughter as an excuse to push his shoulder playfully. What appears casual is often calculated. She tests boundaries, gauges his reaction, and explores their silent chemistry. The psychology behind this behavior is simple yet powerful. Touch creates connection. It bypasses logic, tapping directly into emotion and instinct. These moments are even more significant for a woman in a committed marriage because they represent a step beyond the emotional realm into the physical. She may not fully acknowledge what she is doing initially, convincing herself it is just friendly interaction, but the body often reveals what the mind tries to suppress. If she feels drawn to initiate these touches repeatedly, a part of her is seeking something beyond mere conversation. This level of engagement carries risk. When physical contact becomes frequent and increasingly intimate, it paves the way for an emotional or physical affair. Many relationships that cross the line do not begin with grand declarations or obvious advances. They start with small, seemingly insignificant moments. A touch held just a second too long, an accidental brush of hands that neither person pulls away from, a growing comfort in each other's presence that becomes difficult to ignore. A married woman who seeks these moments of physical closeness is not acting on impulse alone. She is making a choice, whether consciously or subconsciously, to test the waters of a deeper connection. And when touch becomes a habit, it is rarely without meaning. 7. She actively seeks you out. Attraction is rarely declared outright, especially when it involves a married woman. Instead, it reveals itself in patterns, small repeated actions that when viewed separately may seem coincidental, but when pieced together tell a different story. One of the most evident signs of interest is when she actively seeks opportunities to be near a particular man. This is not about chance encounters, but intention masked as coincidence. She begins adjusting her routine, subtly aligning her schedule with his. Perhaps she starts going to the gym at the same time he does, choosing a class she knows he attends, or appearing in places she never used to frequent. It might seem innocent, but the consistency of these interactions suggests otherwise. She finds excuses to engage, asking questions, requesting a small favor, or bringing up topics to keep the conversation flowing. If social outings are involved, she might invite him under the guise of a group event, but once there, her attention remains focused on him. The psychology behind this behavior is not accidental. She is crafting opportunities, setting the stage for deeper interactions without explicitly stating her intentions. The goal is not just proximity, but persuasion. By creating these repeated moments, she subtly encourages him to engage, drawing him into a dynamic that starts as casual but gradually intensifies. These encounters are designed to feel natural but are the product of deliberate effort. Over time, the risks increase. What begins as an innocent desire for attention can evolve into something neither person initially anticipated. The more frequently she seeks him out, the more likely she is emotionally invested in the connection. Given the right circumstances, the unspoken tension may eventually push her to step beyond mere curiosity. A woman who consistently seeks a man out, especially in ways that require effort and adjustment, is not simply being friendly. She is testing boundaries, creating possibilities, and laying the groundwork for something more, whether she realizes it or not. Recognizing these signs isn't about encouraging pursuit, but awareness and self-respect. A married woman who exhibits these behaviors is likely searching for something beyond friendship, whether it's emotional validation, excitement, or an escape from her current reality. However, just because she shows interest doesn't mean engaging with her is the right choice. The fact is that stepping into such a situation has consequences for her marriage and your emotional well-being, integrity, and reputation. While the attention of a married woman may feel flattering, it's essential to ask yourself, is this truly worth it? Temporary excitement can quickly turn into long-term complications. When emotions get involved, things can become messy, leading to betrayal, heartbreak, and unintended fallout. Many men who have engaged in these situations eventually find themselves trapped in guilt, secrecy, or even conflict, wondering if the fleeting thrill was worth the price they had to pay. Instead of investing energy in a fundamentally unstable relationship, focus on building meaningful connections with women who are emotionally and legally available. Absolute confidence and self-respect come from knowing your worth and choosing relationships that align with integrity, trust, and stability. The strongest men have the discipline to walk away from temptation, recognizing that true fulfillment comes from relationships built on honesty and mutual respect. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where you suspected a married woman was interested in you? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on valuable discussions about relationships, attraction, and self-improvement. See you in the next one.